Hey, hello, if you can hear me, type something. As I'm still setting up. If you can hear my voice, say something in chat. And if you are watching the VOD in post and not here live tonight, feel free to skip ahead. There's a timer on the screen to when you can get to the content, as they say. Yo. Usually this first 5 or so minutes, I'm just trying to catch up with the people in chat. Let's see. Awesome. Thank you, Thumper, for confirming. Let's see, who's in chat right now? Sailing Master, welcome back. Nudiju, welcome back. Thumper, welcome back. Greg, hey. Loved watching you. Zeba was so cool. Yeah, it was so much fun. Really enjoyed having Jay on. Jay was such a pleasure. DGA, hello, hello. It is nice to see you here. I'm just getting my bearings, setting myself up. Day was pretty busy, but I'm getting into the swing of things here. And making sure that we can do this proper. We're going to be solo this stream, which is cozy. I don't have a guest on for reasons that I'll explain later, but it means that we can take this at our own pace, which is nice. Okay, we're getting there. Setup is coming together. It's mostly just me turning my other computer sideways so I can read chat while I'm streaming. That's all this really is. And pretending like I'm setting up a whole lot when it's really just one screen sideways. I suppose that's hard to explain. Hey, Gila, welcome. If you haven't answered the prompt question yet, you should go for it. When was the last time you sent a letter to somebody? Like, I'm not talking about an email or like a Facebook message, if people still use Facebook. Like a proper letter. Okay, 30 seconds left. We're almost good to go. Headphones in. Chat is to my right. Everything else is to my front, as it should be. And we can get started with the 14th TTRPG in the 99 More series, which is so fun. Okay. Let's see if I'm on the right page here. Come on. Nice. The GA says, last time I sent a letter was last month to a pen pal about the rising price of cheese. That's very real. Oh, pen pals are so nice. That's so great. And then Sailing Master says, last time you sent a letter was many years since my last real letter. Yep, exactly that. Anyway, welcome, everybody, to the 14th of 99 more TTRPGs. Today we're covering Dead Letter Society by Rory Montford, and this should be a very fun stream to read. I'm going to go to their I'm going to go to their itch page just so you guys can find this game. And in my headphones, the music just picked up because I'm trying a new classical music backdrop, and it's gotten very, very intense. So I'll just turn that down just a little bit so my ears don't go crazy. But thank you for introing the stream with a bit of dramatic music. But let's get to the itch page and show off where you can find this game. Come on. Maybe. Maybe now. There it is. Welcome. Okay, cool. This is the itch.io page of Dead Letter Society. This game came out literally within the last month. It's entirely new. It's been foreshadowed and worked on for a great number of months before arriving, and I've seen this appear many times over Twitter to great expectation and acclaim, and I'm really excited to finally get my hands on it and read it. I'm going to read through the premise here just so you guys know what we're dealing with. Dead Letter Society. Death doesn't mean you can't write back. Live your best life as the newest member of the Dead Letter Society, an exclusive communication network for vampires. Pursue your ambitions and question the society's motives in this journaling and epistolary game for 1 to 2 players. Epistolary, which is a word I didn't know until this past year, means a letter-based game. And I know journaling games are a bit new to a number of people in my audience, but it's basically a type of game or tabletop RPG very much focused on prose and the art of writing or creating stories through heavy focused role play. Anyway, it says here, Dead Letter Society is a journaling game where your letters drive the action. Choose your genre, build your world, and discover the joys of corresponding via a secret society with unknown motives. Features include a vampire journaling game that adapts to your preferred playstyle and genre, a letter writing game without the waiting, there's always something to do, tarot-driven and intention-based journaling. Decide what you'd like to do, then draw and answer a journaling prompt to develop the idea. Game variants for both solo and 2-player games, 6 pre-generated settings, and 12 characters with first contact letters designed to inspire your games. Settings featuring Lovecraftian, steampunk London, the Roman Republic and Empire, modern-day, cozy 1920s detectives, Gothic, and the far-flung future. 140 pages illustrated throughout with original tarot-themed vampire artwork. You're going to see the artwork very, very soon, and it's so nice. But all you need here to play is 1 to 2 players, the safety tools that you require, a place to write your letters and journal, and a tarot deck and method of generating random numbers, of which we'll use the internet. I'm Rory Montford, as I'll show their Twitter page somewhere here. Let me look them up. Montford Tales. There you go. If you'd like to support the author, they are a UK-based TTRPG designer, which is the very reason that they're not here on the stream with us today, because it is 6 hours ahead. It's around 2:30 a.m. and I would not ask them to be on the stream at such an early time. But this game literally came out this week, maybe not this week, 2 weeks ago, or within the last month. It's very, very new, and I'm so excited to cover it. A lot of creators that I have covered in the last few months are big fans of this creator in particular, so please take a look at it, take a look at all the rest of the stuff that they make, and with that in mind, let's get into the game. Whoop, there you go. So, we're going to take this at a leisurely pace. The goals of this watch is to learn the premise of the game, how to make a character, how much I have to do to kind of get into the game, so to speak, the setup process. And then if we have time at the end, we'll play a round or two. Pretty sure there will be a couple of prompts that we can address or tackle. Maybe with one of the pre-generated characters, I'll ask you guys what we're looking for in this read-through. So, let's get into it. Again, the author, writing, design, art, and layout is Rory Montford. We have the editing team, playtesting, and beta reading individuals, and special thanks to Laura, Penny Blake, and Emma. This is an example letter. If you'd like to read it, you can simply pause. But it is an example of one of the letters you could send to the second player of a 2-player game, or something you could write to an NPC if you were to develop somebody to be your counterpoint in a 1-player playthrough of this game. Table of contents. As you can see here, there are truly over 130 pages. I think the description said 140, and you can click on any of these to get there. There's also a handy dandy, I believe, a bookmark section, if you guys can see this on stream, to skip ahead to anything you would like to, which is wonderful. Always valid. Always so good to have something to jump through if I need to see this game. And a quick pass through, if we can do this. Look at this art. Not this art. Look at this art. Wow. This is just the first couple pages of this beautiful, beautiful book. Oh my gosh. This is this full page spread art. Clearly this is meant to be read in a two-sided page setting. The art is just incredible just from the jump, and all this layout work is amazing. So let's get into this game, which we've read. I don't know if we've read this yet, but let's read it one more time. Dead Letter Society is a 2-player game of letter writing and journaling. Each player assumes the role of a vampire with hopes, dreams, and fears. During the game, the vampires write letters to each other, asking questions, giving advice, discussing their intentions, revealing secrets, and speculating on curiosities discovered over time. Between writing letters, the vampires delve into topics that interest them and learn more about the world around them. This game can be played in person, remotely, or a mix of both styles. Modifications for solo play, and shorter games are also included. And this is a tutorial on what journaling games are in general, which is good if you're familiar with more of a battle map-based, combat-focused TTRPG. About journaling games. In a traditional role-playing game, you control your character's drives, personality, and actions. You might talk as if you were the character, or refer to them in the third person, as you describe their attempts to impact the world. Some games use a game guide, who mediates between player actions and how the world responds to them. In others, the players collaborate more directly with each other. Dead Letter Society is a journaling game where you answer written prompts, interpret them however you please, and record your thoughts. You may use a physical journal, a text document, or even video to journal your experiences. You'll invent people and places, intriguing situations, and form connections between past events and the current prompt. Write as much or as little as you want. Now, in this series of 99 TTRPGs, we've covered a number of 1 to 2 player games. Immediately what comes to mind is Eyes on the Prize, which was a fake marriage game. Firelights, which was a deck-based plus 2d6 sort of Hollow Knight-esque adventuring. We had Tangled Blessings, which is a 2-player rival magic school. We've had Potato, which was a 1-player protect your farm TTRPG. So we're very much in the space of these tabletop RPGs that only require 1 to 2 players, which is, first of all, fantastic for people who can't pull together a group due to scheduling or distance or many other reasons that you can't find a whole table of players. But it's also a unique narrative experience. In my own playthroughs of these games, I've experienced that with less players, there's more focus on the story of the characters with a limited cast, and you have all the time in the world to really flesh out their thoughts and intentions and ideals, which is a wonderful experience and a nice break from full table play. So I look forward to reading this. Jason says, can I use Death Note? Well, I mean, it's the right vibes, right? It's right energy. I do. A funny story on that, Jason. I do have somewhere tucked away in my old stuff a Death Note that I bought in high school from a hobby shop way back when. Obviously never wrote any names in it, but you know, it sits there if a journaling game ever calls for it, so to speak. Let me get some water and we'll talk about what is the Dead Letter Society. Okay. The Dead Letter Society is a secret communication network that enables the exchange of ideas between its members. It may exist as a physical dead letter office that processes letters, a means of secure electronic communication, or an ever-changing arrangement of dead drops. Whichever form fits your world, its true purpose, operators, and long-term goals are unknown to new initiates. Now, what do we need to play this? As we've said before, 1 to 2 willing players, safety tools of your choice, a copy of these rules, 1 copy of the Dead Letter Society application form per player. Can I click this link? I might have that in my files. And a place to record their changing assets. We don't know what this word means, but we'll find out soon enough. A place to take personal notes and the tools needed to take them. A way to exchange letters, for example, on paper, by post, email, or chat channel. Oh, that's cool. A tarot deck that feels personal to you, or a way of generating random numbers for the roll tables. If using a tarot deck, create 1 pile containing the major arcana and a second pile for the minor arcana. Cool. I'm now familiar with tarot decks. I wasn't 2 months ago, but now I am. You can either share a tarot deck or use 1 deck per player. The tarot deck randomizes the prompts you use to inspire your writing. Cool. And then roll tables are provided if you don't have a tarot deck. Cool. I'll use these links later then. And then safety at the table. It is always necessary to address making sure that you're on the same page with your other player on what type of topics you're okay to play with. Obviously, when we bring up vampires and kind of darker settings, we always have to kind of draw lines on what is okay, what is appropriate, and what is not okay. You know, there's plenty of topics that we can simply cover off camera. If anyone's played TTRPGs, you should be familiar already with lines and veils. Lines and veils are ways to draw hard lines on things you don't want to talk about, and veils that you can subtly imply and not necessarily role play. There's also content warnings that you can talk about. It says games involving vampires can easily stray into areas with high emotional toll, which you can touch on grief, overwhelm, anxiety, despair, isolation, and depression. These cards can be removed from the game if not desired. Oh, that's cool. They kind of point out which cards are, which cards cause those specific journal prompts. That's fantastic. That's actually really good coverage. So people who still want to be surprised by the prompt they draw, but not surprised in a bad way, so to speak, can totally look to this and be perfectly fine. That's great. And world building in this game assigns positive and negative traits to vampires, the society, and humanity. Some traits may touch on sensitive topics such as war, religion, and discrimination. Approach these topics with your lines and veils. Perfect. Yeah, this is all great. We love this. All right. Quick stop on this art. Beautiful, fantastic. Okay, now let's learn about how to set up this game. First, you'll define the tone and scope of the game you'd like to play, then work together to build the guidelines for the world in which your characters exist. Finally, you'll create characters who need the Dead Letter Society to pursue their goals. Setting the tone. Tone or atmosphere describes the overarching themes, feelings, and emotions your characters will explore. For example, you may want to center your game around themes of romance and friendship, rivalry, loneliness, political maneuvering, etc., etc. Yeah, so I think this goes into the session 0 of any game that you choose to play. Make sure you're on the same page with your other player, what things are you'd like to focus on, so to speak. Like if your friend is not too keen on romance, then you could stray away from that topic. If you'd rather not talk about political maneuvering, have a game not focus on that, that's perfectly reasonable as well. And all of these are things that lean into supernatural stories, vampirism, kind of the rivalry, conspiracies, and betrayal aspects. So you could choose to be diametrically opposed to each other or on a more morally gray sort of dynamic. Cool stuff. Yeah, wonderful. God, this art is so cool. It like stretches from page to page. Like this snake over here and the snake over here. Oh, that's so cool. Setting the scope. Scope defines the genre, area, time frame, and real world length of the game you'd like to play. Right. Though you'll both play as vampires, the era and style of the game you play is entirely up to you. You may be vampires in ancient Rome, Victorian England, steampunk Mississippi, a Lovecraftian foggy town, the modern day, or cyberpunk dystopia. And I'm pretty sure there are resources to play any of these eras farther in the book, which is awesome because vampires in a literary sense can exist anywhere because their concepts, although rooted in a specific time period, can just be, we've seen vampires in every single in every single genre or motif, which is perfectly fine. Okay. And then area, it's assumed that your characters aren't able to meet in person. Oh, interesting. So in this story, your characters never really meet in person. They simply communicate through letters. Interesting. So the Dead Letter Society is the means to which they communicate. However, it's an open question whether they're in the same city or on opposite sides of the world. Your story could take place in a single location or feature their vampires traveling across the globe or further. That's neat. And then time frame. Time matters most for pacing your narrative as you journal your experiences and write letters. Would you rather experience a tragic, urgent exchange of letters or a slow burn story that takes place over centuries? Right. When I played Tangled Blessings with my co-host, prompts that should only take like 20, maybe 10, 20 minutes, we extended to like 1 hour, 2 hours. It's totally up to you how long you want to take on these prompts and how you feel led to expand on the characters and the story that you guys are developing together. You can hash it out at the very beginning or just kind of feel it out as you play. And what my experience is that the longer the game goes on, the more time you spend on prompts, simply because your characters have more nuance and more things set up to kind of address as these things come up. So this is a totally valid question. Ask your friend how long you'd like to play this game and go from there. Real world length. You can measure the real world length of a game of Dead Letter Society by the number of letters each player can expect to write and receive. This is, in essence, the number of turns each player gets in the game. Interesting. A short game consists of an exchange of 2 to 3 letters per player, each tightly focused on the themes you wish to explore. A longer game may wander more or last for 6 or more letters per player. Alternatively, the games can end when a specific requirement is met, for example, when a grand conspiracy is exposed, or even open-ended. An agreed-upon end condition is beneficial, as it sets an appropriate time and expectation for what is achievable within the allotted time. And agree on an approximate maximum letter length. Yes, of course. So if you guys are running like a true text-based game where you send probable like literal letters to each other, whether through email or chat message or like physical letters, you should always send or establish reasonable expectations for each letter, right? You can't write essays upon essays for each letter you send, else the game becomes very, very long. So whatever your players feel most comfortable with, please stick to that when you can. Wonderful. Cool. Building a world. A few assumptions are made in this text about the worlds you choose to explore together. You're a supernatural creature who consumes blood, or an equally undesirable food derived from humanity to sustain yourself. This seems pretty core to any sort of vampire creature. You exist in proximity to humanity. You can interact with humanity. The motivations of the Dead Letter Society are unknown when you begin to play. And everything else is up to you. Oh, that's it. Great. So this is an interesting phrase because it feels like this is going... Let me call it pink. This feels like it's something that you learn of as you play. So I wonder if later prompts that you run into start enlightening you on the nature of Dead Letter Society, or if that's something that you should address, which is really interesting. So the core concept is that you require food derived from humanity, you're close enough to get it, and you have to interact with them to get it. So pretty straightforward, pretty simple premises. Anyone familiar with the concept of vampires shouldn't really have issues with that. Stumper says space vampires, sending video logs over the void. That sounds sick. There's actually a really cool, gosh, I can't remember where to find it, but there's a really cool like story online that's like a whole website, and you kind of go through the logs of people who are communicating through space over years and years and years. Gosh, I can't pinpoint exactly where you find it, but it's hidden behind like a faux sports sort of newsletter, and it slowly evolves into this epic space story. But I wish I could point you guys in the right direction. Begin by deciding what makes a vampire a vampire. This may be the classic trope of disintegrating in sunlight or turning into bats or something else entirely. Each player takes turns choosing 2 words from the vampiric traits list. The other 4 words are chosen. Once 4 words are chosen, take turns describing how each is a defining trait of vampires. 2 traits are considered blessings, 2 are considered curses. Cool. We'll try this out if we get to the playthrough. But here's a whole list of really interesting vampiric traits. And I guess depending on the 4 that you choose, it changes the dynamic of core qualities of a vampire, which could change through each playthrough, which is neat. I like that. And the same thing for humanity. So you define the core concepts of humanity in the world that you create. Great. Finally, consider culture. Finally, consider culture and society of the vampiric world. So 4 words to describe the... Oh, interesting. So it's like the nature of vampires around you, so to speak. So not necessarily your vampires specifically, but the individuals that create or complete the vampiric society. That's kind of sick. And there's a bunch of these here. So we can jump through these. These would be kind of interesting. Let me see if I can... I'll ask chat for 2 of the 4 words every time I go through this. Great. So we're finally up to building a character. Oh my gosh, look at this art. Wow. Characters in Dead... So this is building a character. Characters in Dead Letter Society don't have statistics or skills, but they do have a variety of assets to call on. This is the word that we saw earlier that we didn't know the meaning of. The Society claims some of these assets on application, giving you a direct link or grievance against them. See assets if you'd like to know more about assets ahead of character creation. If you'd like to understand how conflicts and outcomes and conflicts are resolved, see determining outcomes and resolving conflicts. Sequence of events for creating a character is fill out an application form. Ask about your favorite items, home location, allies. These are simplified assets you may expand upon later. At least one of them will be somehow claimed by the society as a membership fee. Cool. So this kind of sets up your connection with the Dead Letter Society, kind of what you gave up to get there, and defining items, so to speak. Like this is backstory work, which is neat. Commit to an oath that you will break. Whoa, this is sick. Commit to an oath that you will break before the end of the game. Now I want to know what oaths are. What are oaths? Cool. Show your application form to the other player. They show their form to you, pay the application fee, and feel its loss. I think there are pre-made characters at the end, so we might just choose one of those and see where we go from there. The application fee represents the cost of joining the society and its physical, financial, social, and emotional hold on you. Jason says vampires can't avoid taxes. Very true. Only 3 things short in life. What is death, taxes, and something else? The application fee represents the cost of joining the society and its physical, financial, social, and emotional hold over you, taken to ensure you do not betray its confidence. The fee is determined after players have reviewed each other's application forms. Take turns to agree on a reasonable cost from each other's assets and describe the hold the society has. Fees can range from an ambition that favors a society to leverage over dear allies. Interesting. So you kind of fill out your application form, which is basically your character sheet. You flesh out what is important to you in terms of where you've come from and what belongs to you. And then you commit to an oath that you eventually break before the end of the game. This is kind of cool. It kind of sets up a story arc. And once you set up everything that's valuable to you, you pay the application fee and choose how much of that you lose, which determines how much hold the society has on you. I like that. That's a lot of really good world immersion, so to speak. It kind of gives your... So you're not like a floating vampire who has no ties to anything and can be aloof about everything. This way, at least, you have some skin in the game in terms of what to lose, what you could lose, what you've sacrificed to get here, Which begs the question, what are you looking for in joining the society, you know? Oh, whoa, this is sick. Okay, so this is an example application form. This is what you fill out. So, name, pronouns, age, apparent age, and sire? I don't know what sire is. Maybe that's the other person you're messaging to? Yeah, that's a word lost on me, unfortunately. Most treasured possession. Sanctuary's description and location. An ally. Oh, and so this is the other player, so to speak. An ally or rival, and you cross out which one you want. Awesome. Which one you don't want. Awesome. Physical or emotional scar. Most strongly held belief. An oath you'll never break. And this is the kind of implication of you break this eventually. Sire is the vampire who turned you. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you guys for filling that in for me. Henry Master Ratchwall. So we were turned by Henry Wallace. Awesome. I didn't know there was a word for that. For the vampire that turned you. I didn't realize that was like a thing. Okay. And state your ambition for joining the society and forming an acquaintance with a member of our choosing. Oh, this is fun. So the backstory is kind of like they match you up with the person that they think is best for you. And they want to discuss scientific research. Cool. Your assessment of the difficulty of achieving this goal from a scale of 1 to 3, where 1 is trivial and 3 is time consuming. Oh, so this is like, how difficult is it to match this ambition? And then the application fee. Acquire a sample of the small creature that dealt the burning welt. Oh, here. So it's kind of tying in. This is the price that you pay. You have to readdress the creature that hurt you way back when. Jason says, it's not just for vampires, i.e. I sired my son, is also proper usage. Oh. You know, you learn something new every day. Okay, so this seems like a pretty straightforward application form. I'm assuming you can't really be denied since there's no real GM here, but it is nice that there's like a system to this. Cool. I feel like this absolutely sets up a lot of things you could pull from when it comes to the evolution of your character, which is really neat. Okay. Next part is assets. Assets are gained, developed, used, and lost throughout the game and fall into 6 categories. Oh, nice. Item, location, actor, scar, principle, or ambition. While owned, an asset can be loaned from one player to another by stating as such in a letter. While on loan, the asset can be developed or forfeited by the borrowing player, altering the asset permanently. Ooh, interesting. So you can give something to another player and they can change it on your behalf, so to speak. Cards you draw will prompt you to develop or forfeit assets. You may use your assets at any time. If you come to an unprompted realization about an asset and feel it is appropriate, develop or forfeit the asset as you see fit. So like if the story leads you to kind of do something about the asset, feel free to just do something. Otherwise, cards will kind of prompt you to do it. That makes sense. When asked to develop an asset, either create a new asset or add additional information to an existing one. You will usually do this with an asset you use to answer a card prompt. Either create a new asset or add additional information to an existing one. Oh, okay. The ambition asset is an exception to the rule. Ambitions have a measurable endpoint and a progress and regress. So this is kind of like a clock system, or like a progress bar, representing achievements and setbacks. Assets, on the other hand, can be developed indefinitely. Scars use the word suffer rather than develop, but the process is the same. Cool. Just different terminology, same purpose. Interesting. When asked to forfeit an asset, you remove it from your control and no longer possess it. Strike it from your asset sheet, but do not temporarily delete it. A reminder of what it stood for, even though you no longer can use it, may inspire your writing. Oh, cool. So it's kind of a written log of what you've had, so to speak, like a past tense. When you forfeit an asset during a journaling prompt, incorporate how it is expended in your writing. For example, a key may be lost or a close friend may show their true colors. If you need to forfeit an asset and do not control the type required, choose another asset instead. If you have no assets to forfeit, your vampire is destitute and at risk of being expelled. That means you're broke. Consult your fellow player and discuss a fitting consequence. Some examples include a loan from the society that comes at severe costs, a lack of sanctuary that when morning comes turns a vampire to dust, and the society finds, dang, you might actually just die for not having any assets, which makes sense. A vampire hunter that discovers the destitute vampire's letters cat and seizes the opportunity to infiltrate their society. Oh, so you kind of put the society at risk if you run out of assets, because assets can also be locations. So if you lose safe havens, so to speak, then you could be hunted and found and be a weak point to the society, and at that point they just get rid of you, right? These are words used to describe assets. Fantastic. Item, location. So an item is something that can be moved. Location is a physical space. An actor is a person of interest. So these are people. So person, place, thing so far. A scar, result of physical or emotional trauma. And kind of you have to detail the history of how you got it. Cool. Healing a scar works the same as forfeiting an asset, but you may rationalize it differently. Physical wounds may be removed, supernatural scars erased, or emotional traumas confronted. Interesting. So scars are interesting in that losing a item, location, or actor is kind of a big deal because it's a proper net loss, right? But the loss of a scar is more symbolic, so to speak, because you're not losing it, you're just healing it. And after the healing of the scar, it's not like you lose the lessons you learned from it, you just kind of no longer carry it, which is kind of a positive forfeiture, which is interesting. And in principle is what guides your vampire in a moral sense, like a moral compass sort of thing. Interesting. I wonder if like prompts are going to give us new principles or challenge our principles or change them in any way. Because the fact that they're bringing it up here is interesting. It might be interesting if it's like, oh, change your principle, so to speak, on this prompt. Your character may develop principles that conflict with each other. Conflicts such as these can be a source of narrative drama. However, conflicts such as I always turn left of the crossword and I always turn right of the crossword should be avoided where possible. Sure. Makes sense. And ambitions are goals you want to achieve. Assign a difficulty. So these are kind of the progress bars of the game. You set up an ambition, you set up a goal, so to speak. And you can say how difficult it is with a 1 to 3, which basically means like if you want to solve it in 3 steps versus 1 step, 3 steps would be the most complex possible goal and 1 is the simplest, and you just check off the boxes as you move. Okay. Got it. Once you complete an ambition, describe the result of achieving your goal. Yeah, so these are kind of the narrative moving points. It's like, what is my character trying to accomplish in the present? We know what they've gone through. We know what they look like and what they carry and what they've lost, but now what do they want to do? And ambition is kind of the future tense. What am I aiming for? Cool. So there's kind of a past, present, future system here where basically all of this is past, right? All of this is things that you have, what you've gained, what you've collected, so to speak. And then assets are present. They're things that kind of change as you move. The more like the assets dictate what you find valuable, so to speak. And as they grow or change, like the word you use is develop, as they evolve, so to speak, and mean more and more in your story, you can choose to develop them. And forfeit means that you lose them. It means that you, basically their loss has a meaning as well. And then future is ambitions. Future is what you're aiming for. This kind of points you in the direction you would like your story to go. And then as you go through prompts, you can choose to clear ambitions as dictated and describe how the prompts kind of help you towards the ambition you're aiming for. So that's wonderful. That's a lot of really great tools for somebody who doesn't really know how to write a beginning, middle, end story or needs guidance on how to do so. This is actually really good foundational points of like, here, let's help you design your character, what they stand for, what they hold on to dearly, and then let's point them in a direction and go from there. And there's rules in place to do that. I know a lot of journaling games are a little more abstract. They just kind of give you a prompt and let you run. But this is a little more regimented, which is nice. This is the kind of thing that, like, I don't want to say combat games gloss over, but simply don't usually prioritize the past, present, future aspect of a character. Like, they'll say, write your backstory, but, you know, make it whatever you want, right? It doesn't really matter. Often your backstory is used to justify your class or your stats or how you were good in combat. But this is very much a focused effort on like how does your past influence your future? And a little more of this in combat focused games would be very useful. I could imagine using these tools in like any game to really drive home the idea of a character's motivations. So, good stuff. How to play. Oh, there's a 3-step process. Jason says, I wonder if you can trade assets like as you develop a relationship, friendship, you gift another player something. Yeah, there's rules to giving assets. It's where is it? Not here. Here. While owned, an asset can be loaned to one player or another by stating as such in a letter. So in your letter, you write like, hey, I'm sending my favorite cup to player 2. And while on loan, the other player can use it as they wish. It can be developed or forfeited, and the item changes. So it's meaningful to send an item to somebody else that they may use it perhaps to their advantage or to their detriment. So I'm assuming that gifting players assets is like encouraged, especially if one person is especially short on assets or overly abundant on it. If there's any sort of unevenness, that'd probably be what you try to fix. Or, as I drink some water, or if there is an imbalance of assets, maybe you don't fix it, right? There's a bit of a power imbalance there where one person has the leverage over another, and that could be an entirely different story where one character remains indebted to another, and the story evolves into the dynamic of somebody trying to close that debt. And the underlying current in all this is the society being in control and both characters being in debt to them. The idea of using assets to keep characters intertwined in good and bad ways is really good, really smart. So let's jump into how to play. Play proceeds in 3 phases. Letter phase, write a letter and send it. Society phase, interact with the society. And Chronicle phase, receive the letter and chronicle your unlife. Players begin the game in different phases. One player starts in letter phase, one player starts in society phase. And you kind of rotate. If both players desire more inspiration before writing their first letter, consider the variant rule of the story so far. Cool. So this kind of guarantees that even if you're... I'm guessing the point of this is that if you're in a text-based game, so to speak, while one person is writing their letter, the other person isn't just like twiddling their fingers. They have something they have to do. Even if one person's writing a letter, the other person is interacting with society, which I don't know what it means yet, but should be interesting. Oh, what's up, Cthulhu? The old god Cthulhu donate. Thank you for the donation. That is so wonderful, so kind. Welcome back. Hey, Wintry, it's been a while since I could catch one of your streams live, but since we are talking about vampires, I'm going to DM Curse of Strahd and was wondering if you had any tips. Now, I've never played Curse of Strahd, but I have heard many of my friends play it, and I'm very familiar with the themes and the energy and the stories of that book. So, any tips on running Curse of Strahd in general? Make sure, I think the most important thing is make sure your character, you put your party in direct interaction with Strahd very often, to the point that they're having conversations, to the point that they're face to face with him. And it's very important early on to highlight that he's too strong for them. The might of Strahd is what makes him so imposing and what makes him such a good villain. It's that he is there and doing bad things, and there's nothing that the party can do about it yet. So he gets all this time to gloat, all this time to torture them, and all this time to build animosity with the players that slowly accumulates and builds up to the climax of them finally being able to fight him. So if you're running Curse of Strahd for your party, make sure Strahd himself is visible, or make sure the effects of Strahd are visible, because the last thing you want is your party to be detached from the villain and only meet him at the very end and be like, oh, finally we meet this guy, okay, let's kill him. You know, by the point of your characters meeting Strahd, they have to hate him or have a very mixed feeling about him. You know, there has to be things they've already lost because of him. And the story centers around his villain presence. And so that's the biggest thing. I don't know the core details of each scene, but that's the general energy. And don't give them the sword too early. I know there's a sword there. Don't give them the sword too early. But yeah. Thanks again for the tip, and thanks so much for dropping by. The stream is always on at the same time every week. I'm trying to keep it consistent, so it's awesome that you could make it. Oh, and Jason is entirely right. Curse of Strahd should be difficult. It's a dangerous thing, and there should be loss. So make sure they know what they're getting into. That there isn't this fun. It isn't necessarily just a romp through. If you're looking for a more fun, lighthearted Strahd game, there's Weekend at Strahd's. You could probably find that on DM's Guild or something. But yeah, cool, awesome. Okay, letter phase. So these are the different phases of the game. The letter phase is where you draft a letter from your vampire. Letters shape the course of the game, write about topics you care about and want to explore further. As you write, you can introduce experiences from your journal, past letters, or inspiration that strikes you in the moment. The only rule is that the letters are the story. Your letter can take any form a carefully crafted piece of penmanship to a scrawled web of notes crammed in an envelope. Write as your vampire would. When the letter is ready, send it and let the other player know they have mail. These are tips on writing letters. Yeah, always remember that the letters are the best way to develop depth in your character, adding nuance and meaning and emphasizing things that they value or ways that they talk or things they prioritize. As you receive letters, of course, make sure to take interest in whatever the other character is putting forth. Kind of a yes and system of, they like this thing. Why do they like this thing? What makes it so special? What have you what makes this thing so interesting to you, and should I like this thing? You know, start to build that rapport through the letters. Now, society phase is something I don't quite know yet. After sending your letter, you interact with the Dead Letter Society. Draw one card from the Major Arcana, make note of the card, and consult its prompt. Journal as much or as little as you like, weaving the Society's impact into your unlife. Do not return the card to the deck. Oh, so it's like a... So the Major Arcana are 13 or 14 cards? Oh my gosh, I don't know for sure. I think there's... Or maybe 20-ish? 21? It's the cards that don't necessarily have card suits, I suppose. So it's like Death, the Fool, the Tower, so to speak, the Hanged Man, the Priest, I think is one. Anyway, it's those cards. So each of those has a specific prompt, which hopefully develops your relationship with the Dead Letter Society. Cool. Now, Chronicle Phase. You sent a letter and felt the influence of the society. Finally, you go about your unlife and pursue topics from your correspondence and journal. The events of this phase occur in any order, but you must receive a letter before you continue to the letter phase. During this phase, receive and read a letter. Spend up to 3 Chronicle points. What is this? Chronicle points. Huh. When you receive a new letter, open and read it at any time in the Chronicle Phase. Consider what interests you and that you could act on. Explore these topics and from those previous letters from your journal using Chronicle points. You begin each Chronicle phase with 3 Chronicle points. Spend 1 Chronicle point to learn about the topics that interest you. Delve into memories, pursue your agenda, or add depth to an ongoing event. Spend a Chronicle points. Say what you'd like to explore further, then draw a card from the Minor Arcana. Make note of the card, then resolve the prompt and asset development in your journal. Got it. So Chronicle points are ways to learn, what it says here, learn more about topics that interest you. So if there's something very specific about the letter that you're reading or the thing you've gotten from the Dead Letter Society, you spend these Chronicle points to dig deeper. These are the things you care about. And limiting it to 3 kind of makes sure that nobody drones on about 5 or 10 or 15 different points. Making it 3 makes sure that they kind of pick the most important to them, which is good. Okay, cool. And the Minor Arcana here have prompts as well, which is interesting to me. So during the letter, is the letter phase prompted by... Is there something that prompts a letter? I suppose there has... Because I know there's a prompt. There's a prompt for the Society phase, which is Major Arcana. There's a prompt for the Chronicle phase, which is Minor Arcana. So I'm curious what prompts the letter. Maybe we'll find out. These examples are really useful. Huh. And this is an example of a Minor Arcana. This is also an idea for Minor Arcana. Interesting. Okay, so intention. Let's look at intention one more time, because I think I'm piecing it together. Intention. Is intention a formal word? Oh, so this is the first mention of intention. Okay, I think I'll get it more later, but basically the intention is the prompt towards which you pull a minor arcana. So like this prompt over this intention over here says, I attend to the mysterious ball and take many precautions as I suspect this is dangerous. How can I survive the night? Then Ava draws a card from minor arcana, and the minor arcana card she draws is this. This is so interesting. I see it. I'm just curious how to start it. I see the loop and how the loop happens. I'm just curious how it picks up. Oh, this art is amazing. What the heck? This art is amazing. Dead Letter Society is a cooperative game, and though you may surprise each other with secrets, the story you're building together should bring satisfaction to both sides. True. You're encouraged to talk to each other at any time about any topic you feel needs further elaboration or collaboration. If you're playing in person, you can pause to talk. However, if another player is mid-writing, wait until they put down their pen or had a chance to finish a thought, then bring up the topic you need. It can be a quiet game if both players are deeply involved in their writing. The Dead Voicemail Society variant can inject more conversation into an in-person game or scene-by-scene basis. There are no dice rolls. Be guided by the events and your own instincts for drama to describe how brilliantly or terribly society life goes for your vampire. You find yourself torn between several options, invite an opinion from another player. The most negative cards in the tarot still contain a grain of hope. If a story twist feels right to you, it is. I like that. And this is about conflicting ideas. Oh my god, wow, this art is crazy. And this is basically if players disagree about things, this is how you resolve it. That's fair. You may reach a character death or retirement. You may reach a point where it makes no sense for a vampire to continue. For example, they've resolved their goals, they're discovered by a hunter, or been blackmailed by walking away from their investigation. There are a few ways forward. Retire the character or play a new vampire. Totally fair. Assume that another vampire discovers the cache of letters in any journals from the departing vampire may have left behind. The vampire discovers the society accidentally. If the new vampire does not join, the players should work together to describe how to exchange letters. Vampires subverting the society network undertake their exchanges at a significant risk. Discuss these risks and how disastrously this new letter exchange could end. Oh, so when you retire a character, you kind of have to consider, like, are you playing a whole new vampire, or do you want to pick up where the story left off with the other vampire, kind of grab their letters and continue that story? And you end the game after a certain number of letters, after end goals have been reached, or when players think that the narrative has run its course. Perfect. Optional rules. Okay. So here we're going to try to figure out if we can play a little bit of this on stream and see where we can go from here. Some optional rules must be agreed from the beginning. For example, start so far and tarot deck work best from the start. Other optional rules can be applied with need when both players agree. Use this if you want more inspiration when starting the game. Each player completes one round of the Chronicle Phase without receiving a letter from the other and spends up to 3 Chronicle points exploring the situation that led them to join the Dead Letter Society. Afterwards, one player proceeds to the letter phase. This is if you don't want to write letters. If playing in person or by video, summarize your letters out loud and roleplay the scenes from the Society and Chronicle phases. Okay, so these are kind of sick. I'm just scanning through them because these are not necessarily to playing the game, so to speak, but rather alternate ways to play the game. This is if you want to play as both vampires for one player. So this would probably be the one we try if we're going to try it on stream. Journalists want to use the following turn sequence. Fill out the application form for your vampire and decide on the application fee. Instead of receiving a letter during the Chronicle Phase, draw a card from the Major Arcana and use this prompt to journal about the letter's contents. Okay. In this variant, you replace a single vampire who never receives a letter in response. Terrible. This is tragedy. This is the saddest ending. Something's wrong with this society. Society refuses to connect you with other vampires. Your letters, therefore, should be addressed to society itself. Interesting. Spooky. Okay. So that's, so to speak, everything. And the rest of this are prompts you can pull. Which are, first of all, again, art is amazing. But these are all kind of ideas as to how you can build on a story that is unfolding. Interesting. So, from what I can tell, right? From what I can tell, this game is more or less intended to be played with 2 players. I see the 1-player aspect, but I don't see it as strongly as it could be. Mostly because a lot of the gameplay revolves around responding to letters sent to you. And when letters aren't and when letters are when you're not receiving letters, there's a lot less to respond to. So I guess there is an art of sending letters to yourself on your own, and there is also an art of playing both sides. But I see the true appeal of this game is finding someone else to play with and receiving these letters from them in correspondence. So, again, before we jump into an attempt to play this, quick summary. You are playing as a timeless being known as a vampire. You require something to be taken from humanity to survive, which dictates your vampire nature. You exist close to society, exist close to humanity, and have to interact with them. And the only way for you to contact other people of your kind is through the Dead Letter Society, which connects you with somebody like-minded, chosen by the Dead Letter Society, but not close enough that you can ever meet. Therefore, the entire game revolves around you writing letters to each other, learning about each other through that, learning of each other's lives and what you have to deal with, and perhaps uncovering mysteries within society, the Dead Letter Society, as you go. There are 3 phases to these games that you guys take almost in counterpoint to each other. The letter phase where you write letters to each other. The Chronicle phase where you look to the society phase where you draw a major arcana and learn of a grand thing that affects you. After you send your letter, yeah. And this impacts your life. And then the Chronicle phase where you respond to the letter you receive and press into certain aspects of that letter. So, I'm going to drink a little bit more water. We'll pick one of the pre-generated characters and we'll try to jump into this. So, be right back. Okay, so let's jump into this, and I'm gonna start with the first set of pre-generated setting and characters, because it might be simple enough without having to think this through. So, to conclude this stream, we're going to try the setting of Lovecraftian London, England, circa 1878. The streets of this metropolis are choked with a fog so thick you can cut it with a spoon. Fumes spew from every chimney and weird machines clank through the night. Vampires hunt with ease in the dark alleys of London, but they are not alone. The tales humans tell of creatures not quite seen, specters of horrors beyond their understanding, hold a grain of truth. So normally, when we choose to define a vampire in this setting, we would pick from a list of 40 or so terms, but these are the ones generated for us. Immortality, we live forever, which is a blessing. Metamorphosis is the ability to shapeshift into animals. And our curses are invitations. We cannot enter a home without being invited. And sunlight, the smallest ray of sunlight turns us to ash. Very classic vampire. Now this is how we view humanity. So, polluting. These are things we like about humanity. Polluting. The smog in London is a blessing for us. We don't breathe and no one bats an eye when someone turns up dead on the streets. They think the smog killed them. Admirable. Perfect for us. Medicine. The advances humans have made are astounding. We may be able to find a cure for vampirism. Awesome. Now, here are the things we don't like. Superstition. Gaining the trust of humans is hard. Terrifying tales of the supernatural abound, some true and some false. The result is that getting an invitation inside is excruciating. And science. All these newfangled contraptions confound us. This is how we view humans. Beautiful. Now, how do we view vampire society? This speaks of other vampires within our circles, so to speak. And these are the 4 words we got. Secrecy, humanity cannot know about us. Morality, we struggle with morality. Hideaways. Oh, let's read this. We struggle with morality. We were once human, but now we outlive our friends and family. How do we stay true to the person we once were? Hideaways. We live in secret, hidden in basements and sewers. Will we ever walk the daylight again? And servitude. Older vampires hoard power and wield it over younger generations. Good to know. So who will be playing as either Anastasia or James? Let's just go with James here. This seems simple enough. So James is seeking the Dead Letter Society for a response. According to this is his second time reaching out. It says here, this is the second time James has approached the Dead Letter Society seeking correspondence. The first resulted in his collaboration with Margaret Bird. However, he has heard nothing more of her after telling her about the invention of the light bulb and warning her about the mysterious ball. So he returns to Dead Letter Society to locate his friend and her vital research. So, core concepts of James, he tells her about the invention of the light bulb. He befriended somebody named Margaret Bird who has mysteriously disappeared, and now he's trying to locate her and her vital research. So these are the details. He is age 59 but appears 27, transformed by Francis Glossop, and these are his core ideals. One of them being Margaret Bird must still be alive. What is an oath I'll never break? I'll never question the Elder's decisions. This is clearly something that I'm going to subvert in the future, ideally. Ambition, discover what happened. Level 3 difficulty. And this is his first letter to the Dead Letter Society, which basically details that he hasn't heard from Margaret Bird in a very long time, and his goal is to kind of find out where she's gone. The core concept here is I'm convinced she's still alive. Please take care should you choose to take pity on me and follow up on her circumstances. At the very least, can rescue her research. You could change all of our lives for the better. Okay, I kind of know this guy's vibe. So this is where we take on a major arcana. This is the society phase, because this is the letter phase. We wrote this. And assuming the Dead Letter Society has taken pity on us and linked us with somebody, the person being Anastasia B. Gray, we're going to do our best to find Margaret Bird's work. So here, I'm going to roll for a major arcana and see where it leads me. Pretty sure that's what I have to do. Let me see. Anything in the back before I keep going? Roll tables. Wonderful. So let's do this. Oh, let's just copy it. Okay. We're going to roll a d22 for a major arcana. A 7. Fantastic. Let's figure out what a 7 is. A 7 is 6, the lovers. Cool. Okay, let's find out what this is. Beautiful. I can just click this and find out. Okay. So, the lovers, choice, connection, relationships. Develop an actor, forfeit a principle, declare a principle. The society allows relationships to flourish, but which relationships exactly? Only those it has decided to meet can meet and exchange ideas. It may match deadly rivals who wish to spar with words, or lovers to be who have yet to learn how they complement each other. This network of relationships, dictated by the whims of society, exists for good or ill. Why do you think they matched you with your companion? Oh, we should probably read. We should probably read our matches letter. That makes a lot of sense. Rory, if you're watching this in post, I apologize if I'm doing this in the wrong order. This is just how I'm understanding this. So this is a letter we get from Anastasia B. Gray. And this is what we'll be responding to, so to speak, with our major arcana. So this is addressed to us. Dear Society member, I am a journalist for the Action Gazette, and I want to start by promising that I never, under any circumstances, reveal my sources. I believe you have valuable information for me. There has been a string of grisly murders across London. This is crazy. And I fear the perpetrator is a vampire who is about to expose us all. Unfortunately, their predilection for dismemberment has not disguised the lack of blood at the crime scene. Furthermore, our newspaper received a photographic print of the suspected vampire in the middle of transforming into a bat. Ooh, that's bad. I've been able to discredit the image for now, arguing that cameras are complicated contraptions, and some incident must have appeared to the photographic plate. However, the cryptic letter that accompanied the image promised more. If you have information on the whereabouts of the vampire or the photographer, I would be most obliged. The elders won't take kindly to them flaunting our nature to the wider world. Also, I offer a warning. Another creature, blurred but visible, was in the image's shadows. What the? A ghastly thing with 2 heads and multiple limbs. It may have no bearing on this, but caution is required. Respectfully, Anastasia B. Gray, journalist, The Action Gazette. So, we've received this letter from Anastasia, right? And I'm going to look at the turn phase and see what is the proper way to handle this. So I'm assuming we start in Chronicle Phase. Oh no, we resolved this first. So, assuming that Anastasia was in the letter phase, right? She sent us that letter, so she's player A. So we're player B, and we start in Society Phase. So we resolve a major arcana, and that major arcana that we resolved was this. Okay. So we've received this letter from Anastasia. We know she's a journalist. Why do you think they matched you with your companion? Okay, so we can talk this through out loud. James something. Oh my gosh, I've already forgotten my name. My name is James Ambridge. My name is James Ambridge. And I am looking for, very specifically, and I'm very specifically looking for what happened to Margaret Bird and her research, right? That's kind of my energy. So, the perfect person to match me with would be somebody who is a proper investigator, who can search into these things. And who else would be better than Anastasia Gray, who works at a newspaper and her whole job is to find these sorts of things. So the reason we were matched is because it's mutually beneficial, right? I am what I believe to be a researcher, a scientist, so to speak. Let me make sure again what I'm known for. Nothing. I don't have a job. I think I'm an inventor. That's the energy I get. And if I'm not an inventor, then yeah. Oh, I'm not smart. It says, I have no head for the steam-powered contraptions humanity calls progress. Margaret, however, has prior experience with human help in her laboratory. We were trying to find a cure for the condition. Oh, we're trying to cure vampirism. I see. Okay. Her last letter talked about an anonymous invitation to the ball. Asked her not to go, but it piqued her curiosity. I don't know what happens next. Huh. Okay. So, from my understanding, and this is not the best way to play this game. This is truly the best way to play this game would be with two people. But putting myself in the head of James Ambridge, I am the benefactor to a scientist who is on the precipice of curing vampirism. I lost her because of the notes that she kept, and not because of the ball that she found interested, and she's disappeared since then. I linked with her originally, I believe, through the Dead Letter Society. And this is my second interaction with the society, trying to meet somebody else who can hopefully track down the lost Margaret Bird. So they've linked me with Anastasia Cray, who is a journalist for their own newspaper/magazine. I seek from Anastasia the ability to track down Margaret Bird. She seeks from me somebody who has a good network. And since I'm a benefactor of Margaret Bird, I assume I'm a rich benefactor. I'm a rich benefactor. I've helped fund this and sponsor this. So clearly somebody with my level of affluence would know people who would be connected to this. So I don't believe that the society linked us because we are romantically compatible or we're deadly rivals who wish to challenge each other, but rather this is very much a business arrangement of people who are potentially in the know in different fields who can help each other. And that's my energy from this. Develop an actor. Sure, I'm going to speak an actor into existence. The actor that I want to... Actually, I don't need to. I'm going to develop an actor that I already have, I believe. James Ambridge has somebody. Here. Mary Allen, a gutter snipe who knows more than any 15-year-old ought to know. Oh, are these? Oh, I understand now. So, Anastasia Gray isn't necessarily the person who I'm linked to. I'm linked to this Mary Allen person. But, you know, let's let's go from there. Mary Allen will be my person in the know. Mary Allen seems like somebody who would know exactly what Anastasia Gray is talking about, which is somebody found turning into a bat after dismembering somebody. Mary Allen is a gutter snipe who knows the streets way better than I would as a rich, affluent benefactor. So I would definitely turn to Mary Allen to solve this. So my development would be to kind of speak to Mary Allen and hopefully send her on her way to learn more about the situation. And that could be a short letter that I could send. It could simply be something along the lines of Mary Allen. This is a letter from your duly met James Ambridge. I wish to seek you for a job, so to speak, a hire or a task of which I need somebody of specific expertise, calling to someone more familiar with the London streets. And you, Mary Allen, are the most capable of my current acquaintances. Now, I understand that you can't be formally hired due to your age, but there are things that I can supply you with should you ask of them. Perhaps not a monetary payment or not one of any specific contract legally binding, but one of a more informal sort. You know of the Ambridge family, of their pull. If you are looking for perhaps a place to stay for a few days, or simply a meeting with one of my many other acquaintances, then that can be arranged. And he'll send that, and James will send that to Mary Ellen to get that all sorted out. Don't get married. Jason says, don't get Mary killed. I would never get Mary killed. Now, what else do I have to do? Forfeit a principle, declare a principle. Now, I can't remember what principles are. So let's get to that. Oh, I should not look for the word principle. I should go to the front. This is probably in the create a character section. Principles. It's not on here. Scar, principle, and ambition. I don't have any principles yet, I don't think. Yeah, I don't believe I have a principle to develop or lose yet. Collecting principles. Oh, conflicting principles. I'm assuming this is something I gained from like minor arcana. So let me actually get to that first. Nitromancer, welcome. Okay. So I think from here, since I can't quite develop a principle quite yet, I'm curious where do assets come from? Actually, let's establish that first. This is this is absolutely not the way you should start this game. You should definitely read this more thoroughly than I am. I'm more or less time limited. I'm curious where an asset comes from. Well, let's try a minor arcana and go from there. Maybe a minor arcana will help enlighten us. I'm so curious. Is there like a set number of assets you should have at the start? I'm not positive. Oh, right here. Oh, so the application form asks about your favorite items, home location, allies, etc. These are simplified assets that you may expand upon later. Oh. So wait, what assets does James have? Oh, these are the assets right here. Oh my gosh, they're right here. Most treasured possession. A finely tuned sword. This is an asset. I'm so dumb. Sanctuary's description. Location. This is an asset. Physical or emotional scar. This is an asset. And an ally. And this person is an asset. Oh my gosh, I'm so dumb. So there's 4 assets here. Got it. So so now that we know that we have 4 assets, what is this again? Forfeit a principle, declare a principle. I don't think I have any principles though. I think I have 4 assets, but not principles. Oh, maybe this? Most strongly held belief? Is this a principle? I have to forfeit this? That's bad. Declare principle feed. I don't know if most strongly held belief is the same thing as principle. Let me find out. Because now I'm curious. His beliefs. Let's go beliefs. I think it is. So by this major arcana, I have to give up my ideals. I have to give up my beliefs that Mary's alive. Or Margaret is alive. Okay, sure. Let's play with that. I've contacted the dead. This is such a terrible playthrough, but follow me here, right? I'm the rich benefactor of Margaret Bird, who has mysteriously gone missing after a ball. I've contacted the Dead Letter Society for a second time and reached Anastasia Gray, who is a reporter for a magazine that is currently investigating the death of a human in the streets due to what is likely to be a werewolf. My strongest held belief is that Margaret Bird is definitely alive. And if I must forfeit a principle, I have to reach the logical conclusion that if she's disappeared after a ball, and now Anastasia Gray's telling me that there is another vampire hunting down humans, if Margaret Ball is another vampire, perhaps they were taken out. And if they were human, perhaps they've already been hunted. So my focus immediately goes from not Margaret Ball must be alive, but rather I need to salvage her work. So my new principle is going to be I need to salvage Margaret Bird's work at all costs. And I'll sacrifice the idea that she's still alive. Do you do all the things or one of the things? That is a fantastic question. I can look that up. Here. After sending your letter, you interact with the Dead Letter Society, draw one card from the Major Arcana, make a note of the card and consult this prompt. Journal as much or as little as you like, weaving the Society's impact into your unlife. Do not return the card to the deck. So that was Society Phase. Isn't there an example of Society Phase? Oh, is it an or situation? It might be an or situation. No, I drew a Major Arcana. This is a Minor Arcana. Let me see if I can find a Major Arcana example. I can't quite. I will say that this is likely my own fault, but I'm having trouble with the pattern of play as a one-person player in a two-player game, if that makes sense, right? This is clearly a game intended to be played with two people, and it can be played with one person, but the play pattern is a little bit different. So, I apologize if this isn't the best way to show off the game, but I see it, so to speak. I see how letters kind of lend themselves to the story, and I see how you're supposed to respond to them organically, and how these rules kind of lend themselves to progressing the story, and I see how the prompts lead you in that direction. It's just me, as a player, reading this for the first time under a time crunch might not be the most conducive way to start playing. And I don't fault the writer for that. I simply fault myself and my illiteracy. But yeah, if I were to progress naturally from assuming that Anastasia Gray is my second person, is my second correspondence, and I'm focused on finding Margaret Bird, there would be a natural dynamic there and a logical link up that as an investigator on the other end, Anastasia could help me find Margaret. And on my end, I could help her, I could link her into the higher society of vampires, as I feel like I am a bit more involved in that. Intromancer says this is drama RPG. Kind of, yeah. It's a journaling RPG. Very specifically, you send letters to other vampires, as you yourself are a vampire. Okay, let me read one of the minor arcanas and see if that points me anywhere. Okay, we roll for this, we roll a D56. Let's do that. $55. Cool. That is Queen of Pentacles. Sure. A chance encounter with another vampire fascinates you. Their generosity is surprising and they freely share knowledge and resources with you. What do you learn? And here's where we can actually just get an item. Oh, cool. Okay. Well, this is a great way to just start getting assets. It's a great way to lose them. Got it. Okay. Well, let's start with develop an item. I feel like this makes a lot of sense. So this will be the last prompt we tackle for today. As I did a terrible job of explaining the play pattern of this game. But I feel like you can read into these prompts and have a pretty great idea of like how these inspire the letters that you are to write. So, what I've done so far is I've sent Mary Allen to seek out who on the streets could have done this. And I think after sending Mary Allen on her way to find this rogue vampire, I think the most surprising thing that could happen to my character, James Ambridge, is that I find the rogue vampire myself. Stumbling through the streets of London on a foggy, cloudy evening, as detailed by the setting of the polluted air. Late into the night, probably a comfortable 11 p.m., 11:30 p.m. I wander out for an early stroll and find myself in the alleyway with two others in attendance. One sprawled out on the ground, blood leaking from the side of their neck, and another hunched over them, feasting lavishly, almost disrespectfully visible as far as vampire attacks go. And I immediately remember the letter from Anastasia Gray and look upon this encounter as one familiar to her description. And this would all be things that I detail in the letter I sent to Anastasia, of course. And I say, wouldn't you believe that the monster of our own kin you've been seeking is so easy to find by someone as untrained in these alleyways as myself? Furthermore, you wouldn't believe how this situation resolved itself. For my presence wasn't hidden in any sense from this creature, and almost immediately as I stepped into the alleyway, it made notice of me and turned with its mouth bleeding with a red crimson stain. And it didn't look at me with disdain, or contempt, or fear, or anger, but more of a kind, kindred look. One of excitement. And it gave me something. A gift that I still keep, not necessarily on my person, but certainly in my study, as it would be cumbersome to carry. The rogue vampire reached into the chest of its victim, past the rib cage that it broke effortlessly, as we so do, and removed the heart, still beating, gasping for life in its palms. And the rogue vampire offered it to me. It's a strange gift. And who am I to turn down kindness? I had every thought in my mind to reprimand the creature, to teach them that this was not how we handled things. But it looked to me as if this heart was a treasure, something unique and special, and only in the moonlight that peered just over the precipice of the rooftops nearby did I notice something strange about this heart. A strange golden core. Odd. Unnatural. And fascinating. Anastasia, I write to you today because I wish to tell you that I failed you. That I did not identify this rogue vampire. That I did not attempt to apprehend it or stop it or reprimand it for what it did. That I did not seek to fault it in its sin of blatant murder because of my fascination in the moment of its intent. I still possessed a heart with the golden core. And I believe what I contain in my study is more important than the damage that our kindred caused. Is this not a greater story? Yours truly, James Ambridge. And there we go. I developed a little item, which was the heart. I developed my rapport with not only Anastasia and the rogue vampire. I now have something to research, which can go deeper into the minor arcana, which can go deeper into the Chronicle Phase, should Anastasia find interest in it. And this is something that I would ask a second player to look into, or query, so to speak. Sailing Master says they've played a game similar called The Concealment Society, a journaling game where you're an agent who wants to hide weird things from the world. Cool. Nice. That's really interesting. Okay, with that said, let me see if I can leave this off on a less clumsy note. The end of this book has not only 56 different minor arcana prompts, also has 14 major arcana prompts. 14? 21. It has 21 major arcana prompts, 56 minor arcana prompts, 6 pre-generated settings, 12 pre-generated characters for people who don't wish to design their own vampires but actually play with one that's already been written for them. this is a fantastic, fantastic resource. Even if you don't want, even if journaling doesn't appeal to you in particular, this is a fantastic resource for the challenges and trials of vampire life, of the dynamics of building two characters deeply intertwined with each other. I find there's a lot you can glean from this, if not just a beautiful artwork, but rather just prompts in which you can lead characters to better understand the dynamic with each other. That's Dead Letter Society. Expressed in a way only I could have done, which is clumsily, messily, and hopefully thoroughly enough for you to be interested. Beautiful. And Acrobat crashes on me. Amazing. We're gonna bounce over to Chrome. If you want to play this game, go to montfordtales.itch.io/deadlettersociety. If you want to support the author Rory Montford, you can find them here at twitter.com/montfordtales. And tune in next week for another wonderful game in the 99 More series, One More TTRPG. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.